It's because the internet's cancer.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wait. Back to normal.
Oh, why am I hearing myself now?
I think you have my
Oh,
stream open.
yeah.
All right. So who's doing the intro for today?
I think it's your turn.
Is it my turn? Did you
Yeah.
introduce the last?
Mm-hmm. Because I
Okay.
tried to make up some E's.
Hmm. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Tapcaf Transmissions, the only podcast hosted by myself, Corey, and another Star Wars fan, Mr. Eckhart's Easy Ladder. And today,
Easy. You're
yeah,
calling me easy.
well, yes,
Hmm. Okay. All
that's,
right.
I call it
You
like
let a
I see
guy
it.
do one podcast with you, and suddenly now you're easy. Okay.
Look, you almost ate that spider for $50 last night, so
Dude, I would not have eaten that spider for $10,000, like for real. So I was on my walk home last night, and there was this gigantic spider, literally, because it was nice enough to put itself next to a brick. So it was like 3 inches long. I put it on my Twitter. Um, I wouldn't have eaten that thing for $10,000 for real.
okay. Well, I believe you. So, welcome to Spider Facts, the only Star Wars podcast where we're also going to be talking about visions.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing today, Justin?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about yourself, Corey?
I'm good. Do you feel envisioned? That would be my E word for the day. Not
Like,
easy.
did somebody envision me doing
Yeah,
this
no one could
podcast?
envision Justin being on this podcast, but he
I feel
is.
envisioned, yeah. I feel envisioned in that respect for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the topic for today. We're going to be talking about all 9 episodes of Star Wars Visions. We're probably not going to do like a plot point by plot point breakdown, because I don't think there's
Not
going to
necessary.
be that much to talk about there.
Mm,
Instead, we're going to kind of give our impressions of the whole series, talk about which we like the most or which didn't work
mm,
as well for us, any other interesting topics that come out throughout that, like what our favorite Tim Hortons orders are, or other bits of
mm.
Canadiana. But
Ooh,
yeah.
roll up the rim started, and I'm fucking fuming over here because I forgot that you don't actually roll up a physical rim anymore, and they're so greasy about it. Um, gotta do it on the app, right? But you can't scan a code after you buy it. You've got to actually order the food or the drink on the app to roll up the rim. So it's Garbo,
Huh.
full Garbo.
That that's interesting.
Yeah, it's trash. It makes me mad.
One of my
But
cousins, she's super into roll up the rim, and I think she's gonna be crushed. I think she thinks she's gonna win a lot of money with it, but
yeah,
I'll have to see how she's doing after this because that's gonna be bad
yeah.
news for her.
Well, they did it like this last year as well, so she will
Okay,
hopefully she's hopefully woke
all right.
to the shenanigans of Tim Hortons.
So yeah, tonight is Visions night. Next week,
Mm.
are we gonna do Young Jedi Knights or are we gonna do Tyrant's Test? We can't do Ronin because it technically doesn't come out until October 12th.
Yeah, let's do Tyrant's Test maybe.
Okay. So yeah,
Mm.
Tyrant's Test, then we'll finish Jedi Knight or Young Jedi Knights the week after that. But first off, going in, what were your overall thoughts of Visions here? Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, so I quite liked it. There were a few that I liked, a few that I didn't like. I guess I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and then I rewatched it this week, and there were problems that I had kind of overall with the series that I do think they can improve on next time. And I guess that's kind of what I was most thinking about. And obviously, so there were 9 episodes in total by 7 different production companies, and so some of them had this problem, some of them didn't. And I guess some of these episodes felt like they were just regular anime stories with a coat of Star Wars paint. Um, so like, and what I mean by that is some of these stories, you kind of, if you take out the lightsaber or you take out the word Sith, it's basically just like nothing substantial changes. Kind of what I was hoping for was like fun, like I wanted these to still be rooted in the Star Wars universe, but to be kind of different takes on the universe,
Right.
whether it's completely non-canon, whether it's ridiculous. So some of those I like as a comparison, I'd say like the Elder didn't have that problem, Ninth Jedi didn't have that problem. Whereas I feel like Akakiri is probably the one where it was most like this is just barely Star Wars. Like you're attaching a Star Wars name to it. Um, but yeah, that was one of my problems. The other thing that I would have liked is for more diversity in stories. Like it felt like a lot of these were telling kind of a very same similar story,
Right.
which makes sense because they were going to kind of the samurai roots of Star Wars. But you know, there are lots of roaming samurai stories, um, and lots of Sith Jedi stories. But I mean, like I was kind of saying that I would have really liked to see like a Gundam take on the Star Wars universe, or you know something like a look at a smuggler in the Star Wars universe, or Life on Coruscant in the Star
Right.
Wars universe, under a completely like the anime gives it a completely different take on the universe. But yeah, still though, I really liked a bunch of them. I really liked the Duel. I really liked the Village Bride, Ninth Jedi, the Elder, Lop and Ocho. Those were the ones that I quite liked, and then the others were mixed for me.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I would have liked a bit more variety in the kinds of stories we were getting, because there was a lot of you find the Wandering Jedi, and part of that's because it was made so independently by all the studios, so there wasn't like
Hmm.
a production meeting where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do this one, you guys do whatever." So
Yeah,
if it's
for sure.
individual studios kind of doing what resonates with you about Star Wars, or what is your kind of like peak Star Wars story to do when
Yeah.
you only have one episode, then it's probably going to be a lot of
It's
people
no
saying,
surprise
"Hey,
all
I'm
these
going to find a
Japanese
Jedi."
studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
big reveal for a lot of them is like, "Hey, look, this person has a lightsaber. This family heirloom is a lightsaber." I think that came up specifically
Yeah.
like in that form twice even.
Mhm.
But that being said, I did think that the specifics of how they were executed in the different styles was
Mhm.
usually enough to make it like worth watching all of them. I don't think there's any one of them that is
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh, you've already
totally.
seen this one, so don't bother with that one.
Mhm.
I do think that like pretty much everyone will find one episode that they really like, but they're also probably going to have a couple that really don't work as
Mhm.
well for you. It's not going
Yeah.
to be like another show where you either like the show or you don't.
Mhm.
Uh, like a lot of the ones that work best for me are kind of the same as the ones you mentioned. My top three, I think, were Ninth Jedi, The Elder, and La Pinocho.
Mhm.
I was really expecting to love the twins. That was kind of the one that
Yeah, me
was
too.
farthest away from my expectations.
Yep, me
And
too.
there are some like Tatooine Rhapsody that uh, I didn't really expect to enjoy as much. I probably didn't enjoy as much. But I do think that there's definitely an audience of especially younger
Mhm.
kids who'll really like that one. So
Yeah, the Twins was really disappointing for me too. And, like, I was okay with it, like, kind of what I was expecting was a visual spectacle that was ridiculous and over the top, and
mhm.
I just feel like we didn't get that. Like, I thought the animation didn't really blow me away. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of just a lightsaber fight on top of a star destroyer, and like, there's so much, like, so many more interesting things they could have done. Like, had the ship cut in half and then like falling down through the planet's atmosphere, or like hurling portions of the ship together. But it just felt like a little too messy to really be
Yeah.
interesting, I guess.
Yeah, like it had a pretty interesting story premise, but I do think the execution wasn't
Hmm.
quite what I was hoping for on that one. But the
Yeah.
other one that I really like, The Elder, was also made by Trigger, so
Hmm.
there was a hit and a miss for me for Trigger.
Yeah, the Elder was really good. That one, I think the characters in the Elder were probably the best done. Like the Jedi and the Padawan and the Master were
Yeah.
amazing. Um, yeah, I don't even like. I think part of my problem with the twins was I just never really felt like the the twin brothers' turn was. I mean, it's kind of explained, but he's supposed to be like this evil Sith twin. They both are, and he never really comes off like that. Like I feel
Yeah.
like even the fight could have been better for me if there was a bit more emotion behind it.
Yeah, like one of the weird things for the twins for me story wise as well was kind of the thing where at the start the sisters kind of it's implying or explicitly saying that she knows if she used the weapon she's probably gonna die. Then later the brother's like, if you do it, you'll die. She's like, what?
I don't
No.
give a shit.
Like,
Yeah,
but no,
and then
like
later she's
she
like, I don't
cares
care.
later, and then she
Yeah,
stops caring. So it was kind
yeah.
of weird,
Hmm.
but yeah. So are you other than this, are you big, and other than Dragon Ball, I guess, are you into you have a big anime history or any anime
No.
history?
Yeah, I'm not really an anime guy. I like like I've watched the occasional anime. Like I like Dragon Ball. I like what was the one Evangelion? I liked that one. I watched Attack on Titan, which was pretty good. But like I've kind of consistently said I don't like anime tropes. Like there's certain animation styles that like I just can't do. Like if it's really over the top, it's just and I know that's kind of writing off a lot of probably really good content, but it's just kind of I guess I haven't given it the chance yet. So no, I wouldn't really describe myself as an anime fan or an anime, yeah, at all really. How about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've watched bits of a couple, but even for the ones that I really wanted to get into, they were typically the longer ones where I just never
Hmm.
felt like I'd be able to get over the
Hmm.
massive amount of content in some of them.
Yeah.
But uh, yeah, it's not something that's ever really been as on my radar.
Hmm.
So I don't have much of a baseline to compare some
Hmm.
of the stuff to, because like I feel like one of the draws for this for a lot of people will be the idea that they have a particular studio that they have some impression of from before and they want to see what their take on Star Wars is going to be.
Yeah.
So that's something that's kind of lost on me going in.
Yeah, me too,
Uh,
totally.
though one of the things with the announcement of all these shows last year, like Visions and Obi-Wan or Kenobi and all of them, was kind of the idea that we are going to get a ton of different
Hmm.
styles and different takes on stuff. So I do really like that
Oh
uh,
yeah.
we got this and that we're going to continue to get stuff like this, even though it probably doesn't resonate for me as much as it will for a lot of people who probably felt like this is something that they were really waiting for
Hmm.
from Star Wars.
Yeah, I suspect we'll probably get a Visions 2 or something
Hmm.
similar because I think fan reaction has been pretty good. Like I saw it kind of blow up on Twitter a little bit, and it's also really good cross promotion between like these studios and Star Wars. Like I checked the anime subreddit just to kind of see like how anime fans were reacting, and the reaction seemed really positive. There were a bunch of people who had never seen Star Wars before, and on the other hand, I talked to like Alex Star Wars
Yeah.
Explained, and he said he went back. Of course, he's a keener, and like watched a bunch of like Studio Trigger stuff and um so yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But maybe we should talk about like I think we all kind of identified a few kind of key ones, but let's just kind of maybe briefly give our thoughts on all of them and kind of talk about the ones that we
Yeah.
really liked a bit more.
But
I guess we
first,
might
just
as
to
well.
set up a bit,
Oh yeah.
before we go too much into any of it, for anyone who's like not been following this super close or may not have seen it yet.
Hmm.
So these are all 9 individual stories that aren't set up to connect to any other part of any Star Wars canon. So they're all some feel a bit more grounded in the Star Wars universe. Others are more varied takes on it. So like less of galactic history is implied to have happened, even if there's some background of like, oh, this is set in
Hmm.
the Empire, this is set a few hundred years after. So you can watch any individual one without the context of the others or without the context of any other Star Wars. It'll make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
There's the
Don't worry
only
about the lore.
yeah, the only semi exception to that is this first one, The Duel, which has a tie-in novel coming out
Mm,
next month. So uh,
yeah.
there's that. But other than that, there isn't like you don't need to watch them in order. You don't need to know what happened, or anything else to understand them.
No.
But yeah,
Yeah, and you know there are still people like arguing on Reddit. I saw today, like, so is this canon or not? Like,
yeah.
we just saw two Sith twins fighting on top of a star destroyer. Like, no, it's not canon.
There's
And
been a
like,
lot of
nope.
other things like, oh, this is how I fit them in and where they go for me, and you can do it if you do.
Hmm.
It's like, why?
Yeah,
Seems like you're putting a lot of effort into that. It doesn't need to really be done.
yeah. So, should we kind of talk about them in order then?
Sure.
Okay, so first up we have the duel. This one I said was my favorite. You were a little less hot on this one, from what I remember, Corey.
Yeah, this is one that like I didn't dislike this one, but it's not it doesn't crack the top for me.
Hmm.
I feel like this is going to end up being one of the favorites more broadly.
Hmm.
But it didn't quite do it for me as much.
That's totally fair. I think this will probably end up being the favorite. This and Ninth Jedi.
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of funny because this one has some of the problems that I talked about earlier, where it's not really well, it's not a problem, but it's not like it doesn't really integrate Star Wars in as meaningful of a way as it could have. I think. where it's like he is, it's a samurai story, and it obviously, that connects deeply with the roots of Star Wars. But for me, it was just the animation of this was like
Yeah.
incredible. And I thought it was really clever how they like integrated um the like different Star Wars aliens and the robots
Mhm.
into like armor and stuff. And this one for me, I guess mostly visual spectacle was
Yeah.
just really cool.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Uh,
Mm.
like, again, I did really enjoy it, just not quite as much as some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
the lightsaber that the villain has in this
The
one was,
umbrella, yeah,
yeah, that was
it's pretty
something.
wild. Yeah, it's like funny because I remember people complaining about the Inquisitors having their helicopter lightsaber blades,
Yeah.
and like I've heard nobody complain about the umbrella lightsaber, which kind of proves that it's really all about style and how well you pull something off.
I think it's
Um,
also the idea that it's not supposed to tie into anything. Like when something
yeah.
is so standalone, people are going to have
Hmm.
different expectations or no
Hmm.
expectations for how they'd have to fit that in with everything else.
Yeah.
She also didn't fly with it, which
Yes.
is I think that's a big part of it too.
Oh, somebody in chat asked, which we should probably mention this. I mean, they asked which language did we watch this in. I always watch the little anime I watch is always
Yeah.
dubbed, so the English version. I assume it's the same for you.
Yeah, yeah, I did
Yeah.
English for all of it.
Mhm. I don't have the attention span to read. Like I was gonna watch uh One Punch Man because I heard really good things about that one, but on Netflix or whatever, it was only subbed, and I was like, I'm gonna be on my phone half the time. I don't want to have to
Yeah.
give my full attention to an anime for 10 seasons or whatever. So yeah,
Subtitles
that
just
probably makes.
distract me so much when I'm trying to watch something
Mhm.
that has them. Like even
Mhm.
just I've been watching Dragon Ball on Funimation, and
Mhm.
the subtitles automatically turn on for that. And I just
Mhm.
keep looking at the subtitles instead of just actually watching the show.
You see, I'm the opposite. Like if it's English, I like to have subtitles on because I struggle to hear sometimes. But like, yeah, I don't like having to focus on them. Because yeah, I'll be like, I'll get a text and I'll look away and I'll be like, I know if I'm listening, I'll at least kind of pick it up. But yeah. Anything else you want to mention with the duel? I'm just looking at my notes here. I really like this one. I thought it was a great start. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. It had some pretty cool ideas about like the Jedi and Sith are just
Hmm.
kind of gone, and so he has a. I guess the reveal moment for the duel is the fact that he has a red lightsaber as well, because
Hmm.
I think the expectation going in is like, oh, he's gonna pull out this lightsaber, it's gonna be like blue or something because he's gonna be a Jedi. It's like,
Hmm.
nah, the Jedi suck at the end, and then gives the kid a crystal and runs away.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
this
really like the music in this one as well. There were a few that had really great music. This one, The Village Bride, um, and I think, oh yeah, The Ninth Jedi had a bit of like almost Ray's theme going through it, which was kind of cool.
mhm,
But yeah, yeah,
which is one of my favorite Star Wars
mhm,
songs.
yeah, yeah. No big deal. It's pretty sick.
Hmm.
Uh,
Right, Tatooine Rhapsody.
I don't really have much to say about this one. It was entertaining. Not one that's like gonna stick with me, or I think I'll find myself rewatching. It had a bunch of. It had like a really famous cast, though. I think wasn't it like Joseph? Was this the one Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in? Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the main guy. Obviously, Tamura Morrison's in it.
Mhm.
Mark Thompson, um, who does a lot of the Star Wars audiobook stuff, was in it. John Lith. Oh wait, hold on. That's not who I thought it was. But yeah, so quite a few of the. Oh yeah, Bobby Monahan. That was the other one. This one had like, a really star-studded cast, which was kind of funny considering it was like the silliest of them all, except
Yeah.
for maybe the yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is one that like a lot of kids are gonna enjoy because it is
Hmm.
very like Pokemon or Digimon feeling,
Yeah.
and we get to see a hut with hair, so that's cool.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was fun. I did actually like the end scene at
Yeah,
at the Padre circuit. That was fun.
yeah, I enjoyed it, but it again not one that like
Hmm.
does it for me personally in general. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's also the one that's actually the most grounded in terms of the rest of the universe, though, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because you
Yeah,
get
that's true.
Boba, you get Jabba, you get like a very clear
Hmm.
idea of when and where this is all happening,
Hmm.
whereas all the other ones are kind of unknown planet off in the middle of nowhere. Jedi or Sith
Hmm.
show up. In this one, it's uh, on Tatooine. You've got Boba and Jabba, so
Hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. See, I would have liked that. Like, it would have been fun to have like a smugglers episode. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
instead of it being
Yeah.
with kind of a silly premise, which is fine. But yeah. I think we kind of already talked about the twins a bit too. I don't know if is there anything else you want to mention for that?
No, I think we kind of started off with that. So
Mhm. Okay, so 4 was The Village Bride. This one was interesting. I kind of got this on while I'm watching. It was sort of the I I, I kind of felt like the show was going to, or this format was really good for like the Force, like talking
yeah,
about the Force, and because Star Wars is all about how the Force is a part of everything, which is to me is something that would fit really well with like anime and like the Eastern themes that like anime sometimes uses. And like obviously that's kind of where Star Wars was inspired from in the first place. So I was kind of expecting more of that throughout. And I like that this episode kind of slowed down. Like we get to see kind of
hmm
the bride and her husband. I don't think they actually get named. The bride and the husband kind of interacting with the planet and their history, and then the kind of nameless Jedi kind of
yeah,
considering her pledge and eventually choosing to stand up and protect them at the end.
yeah. It's probably the one with like the fewest clear Star Wars elements visually for a large part
Hmm.
of it. But the way it handles the Force is really interesting. So like it has
Yeah.
just enough to tie it in and uh kind of set up the relationship with the Empire
Hmm.
and the Force. So this is
The
another one
Clone
that's kind
Wars
of like
too.
middle for me.
Separatists is mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think isn't this one like during the Clone Wars because it is
I think it was
it's the
right.
Separatists, not the Empire.
I think it was. I think it's bandits moved into an old separatist base,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. So I think it was right after the Clone Wars. But yeah, kind of the
Yeah, so
idea.
we get our CIS Remnant episode.
And we do even see some battle droids, which was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have liked to see kind of more spiritual episodes overall, and that's why I was kind of excited for this one the most when I watched the previews. Or this one is the one that really stood out to me. So if they do a part two, I'd like to see kind of more of that because, yeah, like a slower episode, kind of more of these themes, I think would be good. And this one like had lots of lingering, even just the way it was like kind of animated. There were lots of lingering shots of the planet and the
Yeah.
forest and the people. And I think that kind of made the action sequence at the end of this one of my favorites. Because there is kind of high tension. You think the sister is going to be shot, and then the Jedi, of course, steps in and saves them.
There's actually a lot
So,
of like sequel trilogy tech or force powers that get used throughout this as well. Like
hmm
throughout all of them. Because there's the Force Awakens like laser stopping force power. There's
hmm
hyperspace ram later.
hmm yeah, no, you're right. Um, so what do you think was her deal? Like, so it seems like she's breaking her vow by stepping in and protecting. Is that like what do you think the deal is there? Because she cuts off her lock of hair and she kind of steps in and protects the people. What do you think is going on there? She takes her mask off as well.
I'm not sure. Like it seems to almost have a similar take on what's going on with Jedi and Force users as Ronin
Hmm.
does, but a little bit like closer to the moment that would have happened,
Hmm.
where it all kind of just falls apart and it all, and like the Jedi aren't the Jedi anymore, the Sith aren't really the Sith.
Hmm.
Uh, but
Yeah.
it does seem like
Yeah.
Village Bride Village Bride, The Elder, and La Pinocha are probably the three that seem like they have the most open for further exploration, even just of like the plots they have. Uh, 'Cause, like those are the three that end without necessarily
Hmm.
resolving everything that they're setting up.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Oh, so you said this one was kind of middle of the road for you still though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like there's kind of top three, middle three, bottom three, so it's not
Hmm.
kind of like that's basically what it ended up being for me at least.
Hmm.
So this is in kind of the middle three for me. It's not quite as good
Gotcha.
as Labanocho Ninth Jedi and the Elder, but
Mm-hmm. Because you like the furry rabbit.
I did like the furry rabbit. That was the only
Mhm.
thing that I liked about Labanocho. It has nothing to do with the story or the
Mm.
animation. It's
Yeah,
just the furry rabbit.
yeah. You were really into the original Space Jam as well. Should we move on then? Because number 5 is the Ninth Jedi, which is, I think, probably been the most talked about one, at least
Yeah.
from what I've seen. So do you kind of
Yeah,
want to give a breakdown of what this episode's about?
so this is about a ninth Jedi. So there's Jedi, but then she ends up being the ninth one, which means that there were 8 prior Jedi. But there is a call put out by I forget the guy's name, but
His name is
got it
it's
open.
yeah, just a second.
But there's a call
Margrave
put out.
Juro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Margrave. So he puts out a call that's supposed to bring all these Jedi together, and it's setting him up as this evil guy. And so there's this congregation of all these people who've been called by the Force
He's
to,
promising to give them lightsabers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And uh, it turns out that those were actually evil Sith, and they were
Mhm.
coming to kill all the Jedi that would have come to that. And Margrave's actually the good guy. So
Mhm.
really turns everything on its head there.
I don't think
The
Margrave is like necessarily bad early on. It's more like everyone kind of suspects there's something more going.
Yeah, well, he's in the big dark armor. So in Star Wars terms, he was kind of
Yeah.
he had all the visual cues of a villain,
Yeah.
whereas everyone else was visually set up to be more
Hmm.
Jedi-y. Uh, but then we
I,
have the main character who was, I thought, originally voiced by the person who did Kari in Digimon, but it's not the case. She just sounds
oh,
a lot like it.
damn. Well,
That's what
that
I
would have
spent
been
most of my time watching, trying to figure out. Where
who from Digimon made it into Star Wars.
No, just whether that specific one was her because it sounded so much like it to me. But
Yeah. I this one was cool. I like just right off the bat, I really like the idea that like the lightsabers are gone in this planet.
yeah,
It's like there doesn't even seem to be that many kyber crystals left. They've got this kind of unique setup where these like giant slings on the planet's surface are like yanking asteroids down, which I thought was really cool.
yeah,
And there's a nice shot of them all, um,
yeah.
kind of the slings,
It
but
kind of takes the canon element of like red kyber crystals or a crystal you've made bleed
mm,
to a
hmm
different level where the color of your lightsaber is actually a reflection of your connection to the Force. So if you're evil holding a lightsaber, that lightsaber is going to be red. If you're
hmm
not, then it'll be another color. And we actually
hmm
see one of the Sith uh, heel turn or face turn because his lightsaber goes from red to blue or green
hmm
and then starts fighting
yeah,
alongside our heroes. So at this start, like, because the ninth Jedi has her lightsaber and it's like a black beam,
hmm
and she thinks that it's just because her connection to the Force isn't strong enough. But
yeah.
I thought that was an interesting take. Not something that I'd really want in like the main universe, but
No,
I think
no.
it was a cool take for what the episode was doing.
Yeah, I wasn't even a really huge fan of the idea of lightsaber bleeding, to be honest. That
Neither am
was
I.
a bit cheesy for me. I kind of just like it that like the Sith are so extra, like they have the red lightsabers because like you know that's what some book told them to do. I really liked about this episode too how there's kind of the double protagonist. There is the Ninth Jedi, then there's the Jedi on the station. I forget what his name is. It's something really isn't it something really basic like what is it? It's just like his name is just like Joe or something. Um,
Yeah, that I think it is.
it's something like that. But yeah, I really like how we're sort of following them and it all comes together at the end. And I've got to say, the battle at the end was actually really well
The
animated and really
Jin?
brutal.
Yeah.
Um, Ethan, it's Ethan. That's his name. His name is Ethan.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm looking at the names. It's like Lakara, Margrave, Juro, Rodin, Nizo, Haman, Henjin, Ethan.
The droid is definitely the MVP of the episode, though,
Oh yeah,
when
yeah.
that's reasoning himself.
Yeah, and he's like drinking tea. It was awesome. Like that was the stuff. Like yeah. Did you find one of the Jedi Masters kind of looked like a Pokemon though? Like there was one
Yeah.
that had like big red eyebrows, and I was like, that looks like Entei or something. Like that looks like Entei's like pre-evolved form.
Hmm.
I don't know.
We'll have to pay attention to the next Pokemon releases and see if he shows up. But
um, but yeah, the fight at the end of this one was really cool. And yeah, it was nice that it was, not just one lone Sith or one lone Jedi. It was like this is kind of like a big confrontation between good and evil. We get the backstory in the end. Uh, by the way, for those who are confused about what happened in this episode, is it turns out that he wasn't actually trying to lure Jedi there. He was trying to lure Jedi hunters there,
mhm.
Jedi Sith, which is why, or sorry, Jedi hunters, i.e. Sith, which is why at the end there's this big kind of brawl. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Let me
Two
just
B
check.
one,
Yeah,
E0B1.
this one was cute, but like, I don't know. Uh, I would have preferred if this one stayed more of him dreaming rather than
Yeah.
like how it turned out. But yeah, I don't really have much I want to say about this one.
Yeah, this is another one that I was watching thinking, oh, this will be another good one for kids. But then towards the end, it gets super dark for a while. Like the droid gets
Mm-hmm.
destroyed and then shit
Mm-hmm.
really goes down. So maybe it's not going to be quite as Astro Boy for kids, but
Mm-hmm.
it's I like this one more than I'd expected to. Uh
It was kind of emotional, especially when like it starts raining and whatever.
yeah. It's
Um,
like a kind of Pinocchio Astro Boy take on
yes,
Star Wars.
some Rogue
And
One thrown in there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is no, this isn't, it's Akakiri that has the B Wing that's been the talk of the town, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah, I don't think there was. Oh yeah, there's like a Skyhopper in that one, right?
Hmm.
But other than that, not really.
There was actually less on the. I was kind of hoping as kind of a secondary thing to get a few more just spaceship designs or station
Mm-hmm.
designs or something. We kind of got that in Ninth Jedi, but everywhere else it was we got a Z95, we got a B
With
Wing,
Z95.
we got very well, I guess there's the double Star Destroyers, but not a
Mm-hmm.
huge amount on the ship side other than that.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of like one thing that like an example of something that could have fit well into this kind of like something that I would like to see if they do a Visions 2 would be like imagine we had never gotten the original 2003 Clone Wars. Like I'm just thinking of like the Mace Windu short from that on Dantooine. Like that's something that like I would like to see in a Visions. Like it's still firmly within universe. Not every episode, but like it's still firmly within universe. It's not necessarily something canon, and in that case, it's the art and like the kind of presentation of it
Right.
that's so different. Like I think if they do a Visions 2, I like this and it's good, but for Visions 2, I'd like to see more that's kind of firmly set within universe, but with the presentation being different or the animation style or like the
Well,
specific story.
we kind of already got that with the animated versions of canon stories, right? Because they were
Mhm.
doing that for a while. Uh, so I don't know if
Yeah,
that
but
would have been quite.
even those were kind of like those were like 2 minutes long and like they
Yeah,
basically kept exactly to like the story, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas like the like I kind of see all of the 2003 Clone Wars as basically like a what if kind of. I know it's was supposed to be canon, but like especially with like that Dantooine or like even the Battle of Coruscant, it's just so ridiculous. But I do see what you mean as well.
yeah. I wouldn't mind getting what you're asking for there. Like that would be
Hmm.
as someone who's like most interested in Star Wars as a continuous universe, then obviously that'd be the kind of thing that I like the most.
Hmm.
But I also don't think we'll get it going more in that direction if we get a Visions 2.
No, I
Like,
don't think so either.
I think maybe the most, as far as continuity, that might happen with a potential Vision Series 2 is maybe we'll get like a sequel to one or two of these. But I
Hmm.
think even then ituld be more of a one-off stories that are
Yeah,
less
I'm curious to
connected and
see
less
what the
grounded.
Ronin book is like, because just kind of how deep they go into that universe. Like, if it's more of a, just a story, or if it's a more
Hmm.
kind of breakdown of that sort of that Star Wars universe, or what exactly
Yeah.
happens.
Because I think it is going to be like a direct continuation of that, following what he
I
does
thought it was a
after
prequel
that.
for some reason. Okay,
Or okay,
interesting.
maybe it is before. But I think it is like directly tied into that in some way.
Let me just check what it says, so I'm not speaking out of my ass.
So do you think
Um,
there will be a second series of Visions, or do you think we're
I think I think there will be, yeah. Because I read something today. I'll just see if I can pull up the post where, like, I don't know if it was an insider or an official. Yeah, so somebody said Lucasfilm is interested in doing more non-canon content like Star
Right.
Wars Visions. So that was an insider exclusive. Like that could mean basically nothing. Or no, this is actually a quote. So yeah, they do seem to be here. Let me just see if I can read the entire quote. Um, so I'm not again just speaking into my ass. This was
This is a
from
podcast, so what you're
Murphy's
supposed to do.
Malt. Yeah. So this is from a site called Murphy's Multiverse. Full shout out to them. You can just search up Murphy, like the word Murphy, Murphy's Multiverse. And this is the quote from the Lucasfilm VP for franchise, James Waugh. He says, on whether the company had more interest in non-canon content like Visions, he says, it's something we are interested in. The reason we approached Visions as it was is we wanted to empower specific creators with their process and medium. So much of what you see in Visions, the specificity of anime as a medium, justifies the storytelling. So, I think we could do more non-timeline storytelling. I think under the Visions framework, absolutely. There's a certain joy in having celebratory content that is removed from the gravitas of canon, and I totally agree. We'll have to see what the fandom wants. So that definitely sounds positive to me, and it even
Yeah.
sounds like maybe this will at some point get a subtitle. Like, I know even on Disney Plus they have it as season one, but like the way the Lucasfilm exec described it there, it almost sounds like the Visions could be a
Yeah.
kind of overarching thing.
Yeah. Because it seems like he's talking about the Visions framework there as being less
Hmm.
Visions is the anime thing and more Visions is different
Exactly.
takes on Star Wars.
Hmm.
So maybe we'll get like some anime stuff. Maybe we'll get some like kids in their backyard with a GoPro, whacking each
Hmm.
other with sticks, pretending they're lightsabers. Because I can send in some home
Hmm.
movies for that as well.
Me too. Yeah.
So if they want to reach out, I'll see if I can get some of those sent out to you. But
Yeah. So that's great. So yeah, do you think we'll get more in this anime style specifically, or what do you expect?
I think like 3 years from now or something, maybe we'll get season two of Visions in the same kind of like anime compilation or short compilation,
Hmm.
probably with some of the same studios involved, and maybe with a sequel to one or two of them.
Hmm.
But it seems like it's not something that they've ordered yet.
Hmm.
Uh, if it is something that they're going to do, so it would definitely be a few years out
Hmm.
before anything can happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. These obviously took a lot of time, and these studios are all, obviously very busy with their shows and whatever else. So not something it's definitely something they've been working on for a while. Speaking of, I didn't see this, but apparently there are a ton of extras related to Visions as well, like 10
That's cool.
behind the scenes shorts in the extras section. So if you guys are
Nice.
looking for more content, you can check that out. Probably give that a watch this weekend.
Yeah.
With that being said, should we move on to the duel? Or sorry, the Elder, which was the seventh episode.
Yeah. So yeah, this was some one that I think we both mentioned as being one of our favorites, and I think this is probably going to be, along with the duel, the
Hmm.
favorite for the community.
Yeah.
I think Ninth Jedi will be up there, but I think it's going to be like less universally so.
Hmm.
But
This one was interesting. It felt like straight out of like the High Republic era for me.
yeah,
I can't remember if there was a specific reference or not. But just like the fact that it's the way the Padawan and the Master were going around
yeah,
and the Sith are gone for so long.
yeah. It felt like it was more pre-Clone Wars and whatever.
Mhm,
Like I don't think there were any direct references to when they were, other than the fact that like the Jedi are still around, the Sith haven't been for a long time.
mhm,
So
mhm. I really like the way the dark sider was portrayed too. He's literally just like he's like pure evil. He's like got
mhm.
this like gray skin. His teeth are all yellow, and then he doesn't look too bad at first because he's got his eyes kind of squinted and closed, and then he opens up his eyes, and they're all red and yellow when he pulls out his lightsaber. He's like, yeah, this guy is not a he's not a friendly dude. And then I just like there's like the scene where because the apprentice finds him first, and the master, like the second the evil Sith or Dark Jedi, whatever he is, pulls out his lightsaber, the master just like run.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So Zingbop in chat is saying something that I've actually seen a fair bit. A
Mhm.
few people make this comparison between the Elder and the Jedi Apprentice books, like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I can totally see
there's
that.
definitely a lot of that,
Mhm.
and the trope of like the Padawan trying to seek out the evil dude to fight, and it's not a good idea.
And it's just way way too much.
Yeah,
Yeah. I do kind of like too how it starts off. He's like the Sith is kind of I don't think he's a Sith by the time they fight him. He kind of describes maybe being a Sith in the past,
yeah.
which is kind
He
of interesting
talks about like
too.
wishing he could fight the Master when he was younger,
Mhm.
when he was in
Mhm.
his prime.
Yeah. I like that. But it's kind of interesting how they kind of first discover him because he's like hunting animals or something, I think, which is interesting because to me that's like, that's like a lot of, fairy tales or like stories where the beast is kind of first discovered because he's killing a bunch of wildlife up in the
Yeah,
mountains or something. And then the samurai or the hunter or the hero or whoever has to go fight him and then finds out it's, of course, some great enemy, which was well done in this, I thought.
yeah,
And I actually really liked this probably had my favorite characterization or at
yeah.
least relationship between the master and the apprentice. Like I was pretty bummed when it looked like Dan, who's the apprentice, was killed. Thankfully he pulls through, but
Yeah, these are
yeah.
the characters that I would like to see do
Mhm.
more. But they're also like the only characters that actually get focused on for their own sake, except for maybe
Mhm.
some in the Village Bride.
Mhm.
Because a lot of everyone else doesn't really get that much. Tatooine Rhapsody has a lot of that too, but
Mhm.
there are a lot of the other episodes where even La Pinocho, which we're going to talk about next, where the characters don't really do much themselves. You don't really get a sense for who they are individually. It's more what they're doing for the plot.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. One other thing I liked about the Elder is a lot of this was about like kind of the master being past his prime and like
Right.
um I mean it's a pretty common theme in stories with a master apprentice, but basically like I'm only getting weaker and you're getting stronger, so um but in the end still the master kicked the Elder's ass pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like there's one part he starts off with these two kind of like katana lightsabers and then the master just grabs one and chops it in half, which was kind of fun. But this definitely felt like a kind of one out of many stories out of these pair, so I definitely like to
Yeah.
see more of them. And I honestly wouldn't even mind if like they talked about how Star Wars could draw from these stories into canon if they wanted to. I think it'd be kind of cool to see these guys brought into the High Republic. Not necessarily the story, but
Yeah.
not necessary, but could be fun.
We get the weird winking
Hmm.
with the kids behind the shed.
Oh yeah, his little friends.
Yeah. And they just get to the
Yeah.
planet. That's how you
Hmm.
establish a rapport with the locals.
That's what I remember. First day of elementary school, you look to the kids behind the dumpster, and if they wink at you, you know you're good.
And that's how you know if there's going to be a few more weeks of winter as well. Why
Yeah.
Harrison Willie's just going to give you the wink or not.
In Canada, yeah, it's like, does his eyelashes stay stuck together? No? Okay, summer is almost here.
All right.
Um,
So do you want to move on to La Pinocho and Akakiri?
mm,
I
yeah,
don't think I'm gonna
Lop
have really anything to say about Akakiri, to be
me
honest.
neither. Me neither. Lop and Ocho was by far the most surprising thing of
Yeah.
this entire season for me. I really like this one. Like the
Mm,
entire theme. The theme of this was pretty Star Wars too, about like kind of tradition versus progress, or to like
yeah.
what extent you sacrifice tradition for progress. The idea
And
is they've got this. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and like the reason that some of these planets would join the Empire, but I think that's
Hmm. Totally. So there's this planet called Tau, and it's this very beautiful planet. I love every shot of this planet is really nice. So it starts off with this star
mhm,
destroyer. And even from space, like they do a really good job with world building. There are a bunch of these islands, they're connected by these huge bridges. The animation in this episode is really beautiful. And then they've got what kind of looks like looks like inspired by like, I don't know, what you'd see in an anime, like a Japanese city in an anime, just like these terrace buildings, and just this really beautiful nature, all of these hills and stuff. Um, but then the Empire comes, and of course they are slowly industrializing and making people slaves and just ruining the city and its environment and everything else.
Yeah, like coming in, I didn't think this was going to be one that I liked very much, and like I kind of ever since the announcement thought it was going to be the one that was just thrown in because someone wanted to get their weird bunny character in. It's like, okay, that's going to be
Yeah,
kind
that was
of
for me too.
strange, but then like as soon as you get the opening shots, like, okay, this looks fantastic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the way they use the way that Lop actually fits into that society, they explain that a bit. They explain what the Empire is doing there, and kind of Ocho's turn
Hmm.
from like trying to help Lopt into kind of like giving everything up for the Empire because she thinks
Hmm.
they need that to progress at all.
Yeah, one thing I really like. This is kind of a little off topic, but I mean not really. One thing I really like too is this one was kind of very grounded, like visually in Star Wars as well. There were a
Yeah.
lot of Star Wars aliens in every shot, and also ship. I didn't really notice this as much the
Hmm.
first time I watched it, but like if
The
you
Star
look, there's
Destroyers
like
everywhere, like
there,
docking places.
but there's also like Gazantes.
Hmm.
I noticed a couple of Gazantes. There's some of the ships, the lander from Rogue One. I forget what it's called. The cargo hauler. She flies away at the end, I think, in a Raider Corvette. Um, so lots of really cool stuff like that, especially in just like the background, which for me really helped.
Yeah.
Or I really enjoyed it anyway. Not every episode had to be like that, but I'm glad we kind of got one that was.
Yeah, like, it ended
Um,
up being a lot more connected and a lot more applicable to other themes in Star Wars that we see than I kind of
mhm.
expected, along with like historical parallels.
Yeah, and of course the kind of greatest or one of the biggest themes of Star Wars is family, and
Yeah,
even in the sequel trilogy, I mean, even throughout, kind of adopted family versus
right.
biological family. And the big thing in this is the ancestral lightsaber ends up being passed to Locke, who is the bunny girl, who she starts her life as a thief. She tries to steal from this family, even though she's just trying to eat, and eventually she's adopted by them. And then I think it's like a 15-year gap or 10-year gap. She ends up getting the lightsaber from her father, and by that point, it's like there's no question their family is just. I really like that part.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the one that of all of them doesn't really resolve the core
Mm-hmm.
conflict.
Mm.
It felt a lot more like it was setting up for potentially, well, not necessarily exploring it more because I don't think they were making it with the assumption that they're going to do more like they did in Empire at War with still rediscovering all the Sith troopers. But we don't actually see them reconcile. We see her flying away, and then that's kind of it.
Yeah, she goes full evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of
I
surprised by because I was like looking at the time, like, oh, there's not much time left. Does she beat her? Everyone starts crying, and then it's over. But like, no, she just leaves.
Yeah, and I do like how like her turning evil was basically, she also does the very Star Wars thing of turning evil because she gets like she turns evil for like she still just wants to help her planet. So does her
Mhm.
father. She believes that the Empire will help the planet industrialize and, bring it into the future. Father believes that the planet's environment has to be protected, its tradition. And of course, she ends up going a little too far and siding with the Empire, and everything kind of just spirals out of control. Which is spiraling out of control is like the Star Wars way
Yeah.
you turn evil. It's like very few characters that are like interesting are just evil for evil's sake, unless it's the Emperor.
Yeah. Star Wars just has like a flip you switch though. You either end up on the light side or the
Mm.
dark side. And if you end up on the
Mm-hmm.
light side, all your reasons for doing everything are good. If you end up on the dark side, all the reasons for doing everything are bad.
Yeah.
And if you just go back, it doesn't actually change the fact that like you don't need to like re-examine your baseline assumptions on the world. You just need to use the other side of the force.
That's right. Um, yeah, this was a really good one though. The fight at the end was fun. Poor dad gets his other eye cut out in the that cute little droid, which had the picture of them as kids, gets destroyed as
Yeah,
well. So
that was sad.
yeah, that was
Don't
sad.
kill droids in Star Wars. That's just I went through it with K2, and then we have to go through it here like twice. Not good.
We didn't go through it at least with the R2 in the duel, which I was a fan of because I really liked him. He was fun.
Yeah.
Although he does get kind of disabled, and I liked when Ronan was like, have him fixed by the time this kettle boils.
Yeah,
It was like that was pretty funny.
that was
But
good.
anything else you want to mention about uh, La Pinocho?
No, I think that's my main thoughts on it.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on Ekakiri a bit. This one might have been the worst for me. Um, I
I
just
feel like I need to rewatch all of them. I've only watched all of them once, but Akakiri is the one that I think
Mhm.
I need to give a better shot to because I ended up like not paying the most attention to it. So
Mhm. It does kind of have the unfortunate bit of being at the end
yeah,
of
I
them.
wasn't
So if you
binging them
binge
though.
them, oh, you weren't okay.
No, I went back to watch it on its own, but then I still kind of tuned out of it. And I don't think that's its fault necessarily. I'm gonna go back and watch it while just watching it. So
Okay, fair enough.
I don't feel qualified to say really anything about it.
Hmm.
Like I watched all of it and I caught like the broad strokes of it, but I I feel like it'd be unfair of me to give too much of an
Hmm.
opinion on it.
The big thing for this episode, though, was that our friend E.C. Henry,
Right?
he did a redesign of the B wing, making it for the Resistance from the Star Wars sequels, and this episode used it.
Yep.
Not it's not traced, but it is the ship. So that was interesting. I'm probably gonna ask him how he feels about that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was surprised, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's clearly not traced like the
No.
stuff we saw with a lot of the Marvel comics before. It seems more like when they were looking for whatever references to use as like when they were drawing their B-wing because like it's the uh major design elements that are the same, like comparing their B-wing to uh like actual B-wings. It seems like they found EC Henry's video or something, his model, and
Mhm.
designed theirs while looking at that one.
Yeah, I mean it's not it's not great. I mean, it's not I don't know.
I
It's
don't think
a
there's
lot of it
anything wrong with
honestly,
that, frankly.
I don't know. Yeah, I
It's
guess.
one thing
It's
if
just
they're tracing or using the art directly, but when you're
mhm.
making your fan works based on an existing
Yeah.
universe, especially a variant of an existing design, the idea that some of that would seep its way back into the universe, I don't think you can reasonably be mad about that.
Yeah, it's just I do agree. This is what this is what he said. This is what EC Henry said about it. And without he didn't say this with a positive or a negative slant. He just this is his kind of statement. He said virtually every unique design element is preserved, including the paint job. Which yeah, I mean yeah, like I don't know how to feel about that because it's not necessarily lazy. I mean, it's I would prefer to see unique designs or whatever. Um, but it's it yeah. I don't know how to feel about this one. I'm trying to talk through it and yeah.
So so one of the things that seems to come up a lot when this comes up is the idea that like, oh well, Lucasfilm should have this big folder of shit they send you on everything they have
Mhm.
on that thing, but that's not really how any of it ends up working.
Yeah.
And uh, like if it's the artist working on their thing, they're probably going to use the internet to look up references. So sometimes it can just happen accidentally. But like, I don't know. I just don't think there's any ground to stand on of saying like, oh, they shouldn't be looking at my stuff when I'm putting this out based on their IP. Like,
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Um, I think people just get frustrated because I don't know.
If
I
it
think
was if it was a fan design that had no basis on
mhm,
anything that existed before, it's like a fan made this ship, it's their ship, then sure. But when it's
mhm,
like this is this specific modification for this specific ship type, especially if it's like this is the resistance take on the B-wing,
mhm,
and if maybe the animators at first like, oh, did the resistance ever have a B-wing? Someone Googles resistance B-wing, they find
mhm.
EC Henry, is like, oh, maybe this is based on something, maybe this fan made it based on something. It's not like they made uh something in like they didn't say, oh, are there Chiss ships, and they found like
Yeah,
our
yeah.
phalanx destroyer or
Okay,
something.
so I guess my question to you is it different than if it was a mistake versus if they took it knowing that this was a fan design of
Not
a
to
B-wing?
me. I think it's
No?
also
Okay.
perfectly fine if they're like, oh, this is a fan interpretation of what a B Wing would look like in the Resistance. We need a
Mhm.
Resistance B Wing. We like this. We're going to base ours on that.
That
If they
yeah,
took it
that's
and
where
they
I don't
traced over the
agree.
screen, I think that would be a problem.
You see, that's where I don't quite agree because I still think, like, if you're getting paid to I don't know, I feel like if you're getting paid to make Star Wars vehicles, like, you should do it yourself. I don't know. Like, I think it's understandable, especially with, like, where, if you look up B-Wing, like, or, like, sequel trilogy B-Wing, like, E.C. Henry's is probably one of the first to come up, but just taking somebody's design without especially without any sort of credit, I think I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Because to me, that's kind of because this is, like, a new ship design, a new ship to be an official Star Wars thing.
So like the
So,
other
like, if
thing
if
is
I s
I've seen the pictures that they're comparing. It doesn't look as close as it seems to be presented as either. Like he's saying it's every detail down to the paint job, and I
mhm,
was looking at it initially as like, hmm, it seems like there's some major modifications to the original B-wing that are clearly more similar to his, but like I don't think it's quite that similar either.
I think that's fair.
Because like he made that B-wing, so he's gonna look at it and say, "This looks like the thing I worked on." So he's gonna be more
Mhm,
prone to say, like, as someone who's familiar
mhm.
with his B-wing, that it's more likely they just took it as a wholesale
I
lift of his
mean,
thing.
you're right. There are some clear things that are the same, like the engine placements. There are 6 engines that are all the exact same. The sort of little cutout of the wing is the same. The guns and everything, but I mean, some of that is also I can't remember what the B wings stock guns look like. Um, but yeah, like it's clear either way that the person who animated this B wing saw EC Henry's. Like I don't think that's debatable. Um, but
Like I need
yeah,
to go back and like really look at a clear picture of
here I'll
the
send you
one
one
in
picture.
uh I need to see the one in the episode as clear as possible
Here I'll
is and a stock one, because I feel like every comparison I saw of it was just looking at a blurry picture of his or a blurry picture of the
mhm.
episode and his, and there was nothing like showing like, okay, so what's actually changed from the original B-wing or from every canon interpretation of the original B-wing, because there are differences
Mhm.
in presentation between like almost everything it's in as well.
Yeah. Did you see the one I sent you that he posted? I just sent it to you on
No.
Facebook.
I
Yeah.
don't think the color schemes like, because it was
No.
the
Yeah.
major design elements are definitely there, but like the
Mhm.
I don't know it.
Yeah. I guess my main problem I see where you're coming from. My main problem is you're basically entering this into official Star Wars media as a design, as a new design, from your studio, when, like, in reality, like, it is it's not it's E.C. Henry's take on the ship, and this B-wing here is unique enough that, like, if I saw it and I was paying attention, like, I would think, "Oh, they made a new B-wing design. Like, that's cool that they made this," when, like, in reality, it's not theirs. I guess that's
Yeah,
kind of my problem.
I don't know. I can
I'm
see it
not
from the
outraged.
stance of like
Mhm,
criticizing major company for not doing it, but it's also individuals that are often not under the most oversight doing it.
mhm,
And it's also it feels like you have less of a leg to stand on when you are making videos that make money out of this stuff based on someone else's IP, and your stuff is
Mhm.
essentially popular because you're working within that IP, to turn
Totally.
around and be like, how dare you?
No,
Like,
I agree completely.
and I'm not saying that's what
Um,
EC Henry's doing, but I also like,
no, no, no.
if our stuff for Empire or Expanded, if one of our designs turned up in some official media in some way, like
Mhm.
I feel like I wouldn't really have ground to stand on to be like, you shouldn't be doing that. When it's situations where they're not making any of the art, and where they're just like tracing
Mhm.
fan renders and that's kind of
Mhm.
their whole output, then I have more of a problem with it.
Mhm.
But when it's that
For
kind of
me,
thing,
it's
like
like
I
the
don't think it's
artistic
as big a.
principle, I guess. Like, and just credit. Like, you know, it's for like, you look at something anybody makes, it's like, where does this come from? And I see a ship, I assume that comes from them. Like, even in like, I don't think this is like this is like the most evil or egregious or bad case. I don't really get too chuffed about this, but like, I'd still like to see, if you're incorporating someone's fan design, give them credit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely agree with that.
yeah, like, it's just from a artistic, like, ethics point of view. Like, I think that's the right thing you need to do.
Sure.
Okay. But yeah, definitely interesting take. I'm gonna try to ask him, see what he thinks about it. But like, I didn't want to make a video on this, and because I'm just not that mad about it. It's kind of cool, but yeah, would prefer there to be some credit. With that being said, I think we kind of covered everything we wanted to cover. Do we have time for any questions? What
I
time is our
don't
next stream?
I think uh it just came up saying half an hour, so I think he's scheduled for 8:30. So we probably do have time
Okay.
for the emails we
Yeah.
got at least.
Okay. Let me just pull them open. Um, so I think we only have a few. Um, so Justin, I think we covered most of his. Did we answer Justin questions last week? I don't think so, actually.
Which one?
Just trying to figure out
No,
what's
no, that
this.
was 2 days ago.
Oh yeah,
So we
that's
definitely
right.
didn't.
What's the last question we covered? I think
Uh,
Seamus's is the last one we didn't cover. Maybe.
yeah, that was right after the podcast, I think, or during
Maybe
it.
I'll star that and I'll save it for next time because it's kind of off topic.
Yeah, that'll fit a little bit more into being back
Mhm.
talking about the books.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that for Justin's as well because it's also kind of off topic. Um,
Yeah, I think that
yeah.
works.
So our first question then comes from Floral, who says, "Hey, Justin and Corey, longtime listener, first time emailer, big fan. Watching the Star Wars Vision series reminded me a lot of the animated Halo Legends series. Yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed both. The art style is refreshing as well as the new story. Somewhat unrelated, but something I'd like to see more of is perhaps this Rebels or Clone Wars style show set in the sequel trilogy. I know there's Resistance, but that didn't do much for me. Um, Something I think Clone Wars and Rebels did was flesh out the overall story a bit more without directly affecting what happened in the respective trilogies. I think if a series was set in the sequel trilogy, it could do a lot in terms of creating new characters that fans can get behind and enjoy, as well as providing a bit more context to the mess that the sequel storyline was. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the Clone Wars did do quite a bit to rehabilitate the prequel's
Yeah.
image. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Corey?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we'll probably get something like that at some point. Because Resistance only does it go up to Rise of Skywalker? Is it just between
Not
TLJ and Rise of
quite.
Skywalker? But I think
Uh,
it's a bit more contained, self-contained. So I think there's definitely room for more of
yeah.
that, and especially with like Bad Batch, it seems like that's a format that they want to keep going with.
Hmm.
So maybe once Bad Batch is done, the next like
Hmm.
Clone Wars esque cartoon or Rebels esque cartoon will be later on in the timeline, especially if they want to set up for something else bigger uh, coming after Rise of Skywalker. Because there's definitely a
Yeah.
lot of room to explore the either after that or during the First Order Resistance War
Mhm.
to just show a lot more of what was going on there. Show like the New Republic's decision to stay out of it, Leia forming the Resistance. Like there's a lot of room in there for
Yeah.
other stories that you really can't do in live action anymore because Carrie Fisher will not answer any phone calls.
Yeah. That's a great point. Have you ever seen Halo Legends before?
I haven't. No.
It's really good. You'd probably like it. It's got like Halo Legends is different though because some of them are at least like quasi canon. Some of them are completely kind of. Some of them are like Master Chief fighting a dinosaur. Others are like past Spartan missions. They're all really cool though. Varied animation styles, pretty much like this. But yeah, thank you very much for that question. Next up, we have Joel, I think. He says, despite not being canon, could you see some more of these stories getting mentioned in mainline Star Wars stories, like how you sometimes get Star Wars tales or even old wounds in the main chronology material? Curious to hear your thoughts. What do you
Uh,
think, Corey?
I think like you kind of brought it up, but the characters in the Elder, I think, could, if
Hmm.
like the High Republic writers decided they really liked them, they get worked in with a mention or something like that. I don't think the other ones are that likely unless it's maybe like
No.
a planet name drop for Tau or that kind of thing.
Hmm. Oh
I don't
yeah,
think
for
there'll be
sure.
any attempt to like bring in anything broader than a character or a place name reference.
Hmm. Yeah. So one thing that I saw all over Twitter is like, oh, the Ninth Jedi is the official future of Star Wars. It's like, I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, for me, it was all like that one just felt like an alternate take on the universe. I mean, obviously, it's not actually official, but like, yeah, I
I don't know
didn't.
how long our faces were froze, but I had the Discord window minimized, so we're
That's
just
okay.
sitting there for now.
I was looking over. It's like, oh, I must have paused the stream, but I guess not. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you end up getting the same things I do because you're not as into the MCU and you're not Googling MCU chronological order every day because I'm watching it with Dana. So I get a lot of
Hmm.
like Marvel related articles suggested on my phone. And
Hmm.
because they're doing What If, uh,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff coming out with like different voice cast for the What If episodes compared to the live action episodes. Partially because, like, I imagine hiring all those people would be very expensive
Yeah.
for an animated episode. I think some are the same, some aren't. So, like, every day I get article like, the MCU has officially replaced Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and
Oh my
hear what
god.
the newest Iron Man actor has to say about how he's replacing Robert Downey. Just like, fucking
Exhausting.
hell, you
Yeah, it's
grifters.
exhausting. So like, I've noticed that so much. Like, I just like Star Wars interest is really low right now. So it's like whether they're YouTubers or like big publications are pulling out to like get views is just like disgraceful. It's
Yeah,
like the lines are being stretched as far as they can go right now because interest is a little bit lower.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
Um.
it's just every
Yeah.
day there's a new one because like What If is going on, which actually brings us into the next question from
Ooh.
Austin. They asked a few questions, but we kind of answered the first ones and like pitches for potential season two
He also
or
said,
which of the
"How's the grease
sorts.
coagulating?" Which I
Okay,
like.
well, we don't need to talk about that. So the final question from Austin there is I doubt you're following it, but this series is a really interesting point of comparison for Marvel's What If series. These shorts blow those episodes out of the water when it comes to telling a complete story, even if some of them feel too brief. They also don't feel like they're necessarily seeking follow up, except for maybe The Ninth Jedi, whereas a lot of Marvel's What If seems to be opening a door to their own universe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I haven't watched much of What If. I've watched one or two episodes. Like I watched Captain Carter, which is What If Peggy took the serum instead. Uh, it's true that they're connecting to, or like they're seeming to open the door to like broader points for these stories. Part of that is just like the subject matter, Marvel being what it is. A lot of these are actually based on storylines that have happened or storylines that could happen. Like Marvel already internally has the idea of a multiverse. So like I
Mm-hmm.
think one of them is one of the multiverses Ultron's actually won, and there's like a party in a different multi or a different universe with like all the Avengers and Thanos is there with Nebula. So like none of these people hate each other because of some event not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like they're, which also means like they're not as proactive, and then Ultron walks into the party at the end, and no one seems to realize that this means they're all kind of screwed. But I think that's
Not
just a
gonna lie, this
difference in
shit sounds
format.
exhausting.
Well, it's kind of like
To be a
subtext for
yeah.
some of it, but like the episodes imply some of this stuff is going on, but it's mostly just like, what if Black Panther was Star-Lord instead? So like there is more of that opening up, but it is just a more
I feel
an
like that's
a part
a
of
bit of a
Marvel.
weakness of the MCU in a way, whereas like they found like the need to like codify the multiverse into like lore sometimes.
Well,
Where like I
that's
like
less MCU and more just Marvel.
yeah, sorry, I meant Marvel, not
Okay.
MCU. Um Whereas like in Star Wars, it's like these aren't the multiverse. Like despite what fans want, Legends
They're
isn't
gonna go into the world between worlds and call Ray an SJW.
right.
I think that's what they're saying is gonna happen in the next show, right?
Right. Whereas like I kind of like I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like if they bring what's his name? Uh what's the guy that played Peter Parker in the
Tom
Spider-Mans that I
Holland
like?
or
No.
Toby.
Toby Maguire, yeah. If they bring Toby Maguire into the new Spider-Man, I'm gonna be fucking pumped. I'll go see that because I love those movies. But like I like that they can just make this and it's not like, you know, big
Yep.
multiverse. It's just a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just check for any new reviews for Tapcaf. Also, I posted this on Twitter last night, but it's kind of crazy. But Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys is now older than Ray was in episode 1. Ray being his father.
That's not surprising.
It's not, but it's just like, you know how it's like, oh, Obi-Wan like now is older than Obi-Wan was. It's like
Yeah.
I know this is how time works. I don't like it being pointed out to me.
Yeah, I the part I don't like about it is the fact that it does remind me that I'm going to die soon,
Yeah.
and like all the people that I thought of as like the big established stars forever when I was a kid that are like all these old guys are like, no, now actually the people that I thought were the young kid show stars are that old. So
I will say it hit me this week when like Kelsey was talking about how oh Christmas isn't that far away, and I was like, Christmas isn't wasn't Christmas like last week? I was like, wait, that was a year of my life. That's like 1/50th of my life or 1/40th of my life that I've got left. Like I'm fucked.
yeah, it's fucking disgusting how fast shit
Yeah,
goes.
yeah. So guys, we'll all be dead probably by the time this next episode is recorded.
Unrelated
I
reason.
didn't see any new reviews, but thanks to everyone who's left one in the past anyway. Just a reminder, guys, that if you missed last episode, we've done something new on the podcast. We've put together a spreadsheet of all of our rankings for the books we've done. This episode will not be included because we don't give kind of the miscellaneous stuff of a ranking. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Next week is we're finishing off Black Fleet Crisis, and we'll go from there.
So should I list all the books that we haven't been able to track down our rankings of? If anyone wants to email them in, if they know them, because I
Yeah,
asked
sure,
on Discord, but I don't think
sure, yeah.
we got anything from that. But shit, Tapcaf Ascendancy. I hate when Discord doesn't let me uh search from.
Do you mean to pull
But
the
okay,
spreadsheet
here we
up?
go. Here we go.
Okay.
So we have the spreadsheet which has as many of the rankings as we were able to find. There's a few episodes where I tried to skim through and find where we did the rankings, but where we don't have them currently. So if anyone happens to find
If you're
the
just
or happens to
listening through,
know, yeah,
yeah.
if you happen to know our rankings for the Darth Bane books, Chaos Rising and Greater Good, Children of the Jedi, Light of the Jedi and Rising Storm, Shatterpoint, and Before the Storm. If you know the letter grades for those, or you know where we said them in the episodes, those are the ones that we were having trouble
Yeah.
finding, and we'll fill out the rest of the table. If no one sends it in, I'm going to keep looking for it, but it might just take a little bit longer.
Have you added some since I put it together?
I added a couple,
Okay, cool.
but yeah, those are the ones that I was looking for. And then I think we also episode 3, but I think we both gave that an S, right?
Episode 3? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we probably did. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
All right. So if you guys know any of those and can send them into tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com, along with any questions you have for Tyrant's Test next week, we would be eternally grateful, and we'll add that to the spreadsheet.
Mhm. All right, everybody. I think that's it for me. Anything you want to end with, Corey, or are we good?
No, I think we're still good.
All right. So, guys, we will be doing our other podcast in 15 minutes over on X2.